are we going to do it?
Yes, I'm processing. I thought you were just passing on the news to the next town. Via drum.
Y'all heard that? Y'all heard that? Y'all heard that? Y'all heard that? This has something to do with the fact that I'm reading a column about BaBatunde Olatunji. And I was kind of inspired to
play a little.
drum a little bit to connect with what the piece is about and so forth and so on. Got it?
Got it.
And you've been very patient as the director, producer, Zola Salena, y'all, Zola Salena, and she's pointing her finger saying, all right, now that's enough of that. So here we are. This is a column about a very dear friend, BaBatunde Olatunji, master drummer from Nigeria who passed. And, well, let me just read it because I'm
getting sentimental on us.
He inspired me to play my way into it. I'm not a master drummer, but I try to do what I can do. The piece is called The Olatunji Mystique. BaBatunde Olatunji grew up in a small fishing agriculture village called Ajido, 40 miles from Lagos, Nigeria. Learning to play drums and other musical instruments, a normal procedure for those days. He learned that 3 spirits come together in the drums. The spirit of the wood from which the drum is carved, the spirit of the animal whose skin embraces the wood, and the spirit of one who plays the drum.
Nice.
Olatunji came to the United States in the mid-1950s. He was sponsored by the Rotarian Club of America. To study at Morehouse College in Atlanta. He was priming himself to be a diplomat and studied political science and business administration.
Wow.
He was appalled by the widespread ignorance and distorted impressions even amongst African Americans. He learned that most American beliefs about Africa were created by the movies. Hollywood has always depicted Africa as the dark continent of cannibals, shrinking heads, and Tarzan and Jane. I had to do something about that false image, he said. Olatunji began to give talks around Atlanta using drums to demonstrate and dispel misconceptions. He became immensely popular as a musician, and when he went to complete his master's degree and work on his doctorate at New York University, he realized he could use his music to accomplish traditional diplomacy. Because politics has failed to bring us together, we have to take the cultural route. Then we begin to bring the grassroots together, both black and white. Music can do it. It's the universal image, the universal language. I'm not going to try to imitate how it was that I became influenced by BaBatunde, but he could talk to you in a way that was so casual, like having your uncle talk to you. And, you know, can you say, no, don't do that. If you do it this way, it will hurt your fingers. You know, In 1959, Columbia Records released Drums of Passion, Olatunji's first album and the first traditional African music album ever recorded in a modern stereo recording studio. It established Olatunji is Africa's most visible cultural ambassador and paved the way for American acceptance of other performers like King Sunny Ade, Fela Kuti, Miriam Makeba, Hugh Masekela, and others. Drums of Passion, followed by several other Olatunji albums from major studios, major labels, is still selling well, more than 30 years later. Olatunji said he never received royalties for the album until a few years ago. I knew nothing of copyright. I was just happy to be able to record the music. During the 60s and 70s, anybody remember that? 60s and 70s?
Yes, yes.
Olatunji spent most of his time teaching at the Olatunji Centers that was once established in Washington, D.C. and in New York. Most of the instructors of African dance, drumming, and culture have studied with him, and new generations of students seek his guidance. For years, he has performed in public schools in and around New York. Grateful Dead drummer Mickey Hart, a former participant in one of Olatunji's workshops, helped introduce him as to a wider audience in 1986 when he, Carlos Santana, and Ajido worked with Olatunji on Drums of Passion, the beat. Later came the acclaimed Drums of Passion, the invocation. Hart's latest collaboration with his mentor, Planet Drum, won a Grammy, but for Hart, not Olatunji. White boy wanted, not the guy who taught him. Olatunji says he's not bitter that whites are often the beneficiaries of the talents of Africans and African Americans. Hey, look at him. His name is Elvis Presley. If it weren't for Hart, Paul Simon, and others like him, the music might not have been produced at all, he said, and added that he had offered to collaborate with several well-known black musicians, but was turned down. Now, in his mid-70s, he's beginning to reap financial rewards from his recordings. Although he was one of the first to blend African music with jazz and pop music forms, traditional music is still closest to his heart. His dream is to establish a center of African performing arts in Ajido to ensure that traditional music and dance continues to be taught. He returns at least once a year to honor his ancestors and encourage the younger generation. I believe we must incorporate African culture into the educational curriculum. We have to teach it to the children, because if we don't, the real traditional music, the source of all the rest, will be forgotten. Excuse me. I've been trying to force it back, but then occasionally it comes up, the cough that infects all of our bodies. It's gone. In 1991, a co-founder of Planet Drum with Mickey Hart and others, Olatunji produced a CD recording of the same name with musicians from India, South America, the Caribbean, and the U.S. Planet Drum has been a bestseller on the commercial charts, and the ensemble has played to full houses on a 15-city tour. There's more to be said about BaBatunde Olatunji, but we're not going to be able to say it here this afternoon.
Yes.
What we invite you to do is acquaint yourself reacquaint yourself with the drum. I mean, it's where your heartbeat starts, and I don't think there's any drum beat any more fervent, any more passionate, any more wonderful than the African heartbeat.
I see. And with that, your website is www.odiehawkins.com. And with that, and a cough,
I'm
cough, cough.
coughing myself out of
Cough, cough, cough.
it.
Ness.